Right now, warships are cutting through dense fog and swelling waves in one of the most heavily militarized maritime environments on Earth. This is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow bottleneck processing 20% of the world's energy supply. But that flow has violently stalled. 27 separate attacks have struck this corridor, blocking a staggering 1 billion barrels of crude oil. Iran is physically enforcing this closure by seizing commercial vessels, trapping massive oil tankers in a corridor they can no longer safely navigate. The escalation has even drawn in foreign military contractors. Iranian forces recently seized a ship operated by a private Chinese military company. The result is that a 21-mile-wide waterway has ceased to be a commercial shipping lane. It is an active combat zone, physically holding the global economy hostage. The effects of that distant blockade are already hitting the United States, actively draining America's emergency buffers. In a single week, the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve suffered a massive drop of 8.6 million barrels, the sharpest decline on recent record. That depletion of domestic reserves translates directly into the rising fuel costs consumers are paying at the pump. This sudden supply shock is rippling outward right now, causing immediate and chaotic fluctuations across all global commodity markets. By closing a single maritime choke point, adversaries have found a way to inflict direct, measurable economic damage on the United States without engaging in traditional military combat. Conventional military doctrine relies on massive shows of force, like carrier strike groups. Yet these traditional fleets are struggling to maintain control of the Persian Gulf. They are facing Iran's asymmetric strategy, a mass-produced stockpile of over 80,000 Shahed series suicide drones. Intelligence estimates indicate Iran has the operational capacity to fire up to 100 of these drones and 15 to 30 ballistic missiles every single day. The sheer volume is the weapon. This arsenal is designed specifically to overwhelm and exhaust highly advanced, expensive U.S. and Israeli air defense systems. This strategy is taking a severe toll on U.S. hardware, particularly America's MQ-9 Reaper drones. This chart shows the stark numerical mismatch. While Iran commands an 80,000-strong swarm, the U.S. MQ-9 fleet in the Middle East has been whittled down to 135 remaining units. That leaves the regional fleet exactly 54 units short of its required operational limits. The math is unforgiving. The U.S. military is being forced to use dwindling, multi-million-dollar assets to fight an endless supply of cheap weaponry in a relentless war of attrition. While the U.S. is locked into this Middle Eastern distraction, a secondary geopolitical problem is rapidly accelerating: China's military buildup. The People's Liberation Army has aggressively expanded its parallel armament, amassing 3,150 ballistic missiles. Recent reports indicate Chinese companies are actively discussing backdoor arms sales to Iran, establishing supply chains that completely bypass global sanctions. This creates a mounting operational dilemma. With foreign superpowers refueling Iran's asymmetric machine, the U.S. is being forced to choose between securing the Middle East or maintaining its presence against a rapidly arming China. The persistent threat of Iran's arsenal has pushed regional rivals into a survival-based alignment, overriding decades of public hostility. Leaked intelligence recently exposed a covert diplomatic meeting that took place on March 26th in the border city of Al Ain. The first key player at this meeting was Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. The second was the President of the United Arab Emirates, marking a massive shift in regional diplomacy. The mutual threat of Iran's blockade strategy is forcing traditional adversaries into the shadows to coordinate their survival tactics. Following the leak of this UAE-Israel meeting, Iran delivered a furious public reaction, issuing a stark ultimatum to its neighbors against any further collusion. These threats carry immense weight. Iran has previously launched devastating drone strikes directly at commercial and urban targets within the UAE. Iranian officials have made it clear, if a second phase of the war is triggered, they are prepared to launch direct, unmitigated attacks on UAE soil. This coordinated strategy is now polarizing the Middle East into two heavily armed opposing camps. The United States and its allies stand on the precipice of a full-scale regional war, driven by a chokehold they cannot currently break.